Welcome everyone to Straight from the Paws. And have I got some exciting news for you today? Well, at least it's exciting for me. I want to introduce to you our newest board member, Nancy Duncan.
Hello, hello, hello.
This is Nancy Duncan. She is our newest board member, and she has been a volunteer clerk for the past year. Now, some of you may know her as Dr. Nancy Duncan, and in case you can't hear me, you may want to give her a call. Okay, because she's an audiologist, in case you didn't get that joke. So that's what's going on with Nancy. So Nancy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm an audiologist. I have my own practice here in Fall River. We have locations in Dartmouth as well as Hyannis. My husband and I live in Dartmouth with our son Cooper. Prior to that, we lived in Somerset for 20 years or so. I grew up in Somerset and had graduated from Somerset High a long time ago, let's just say.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just keep busy in the area and love to volunteer and love animals, of course. That's how I landed here. And
So,
and found you because, as we know, you're my twin.
That's right.
So.
We're kind of twins. We kind of look a lot alike. People say she doesn't have her glasses on today, but we are. We think we're related somehow. We're just not sure how yet. I've done ancestry. I'm waiting for her to do hers so we can figure it out.
Have you?
Mine,
yes.
And we haven't come up as, I don't know why, but we'll have to see. I do know my grandfather on my father's side was a little bit of a, you know, he had a good time in his life, so we could be related.
Never know.
You never know.
Anything can happen.
That's true. That is true. But some of you may remember Nancy. She was working on WSAR with Happy Heck in the morning.
Correct. I used to do the morning show. We were part of the Breakfast Club.
Yep.
For about, gosh, three and a half years I did that. Yeah, when my son was very, very young. He was maybe 2 or 3 years old, so.
I remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I remember when we had our open house here and you showed up with little Cooper walking around and I was like, Nancy, and she said, yeah. And I said, what are you doing? She says, well, and you said, I'm going to come back sometime and volunteer. I love animals.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, one day I was walking by the kitchen and I did a double take and I said, wait a minute, I think that's Nancy Duncan.
Yeah, I actually didn't know who I was. You asked if I was a teacher. And
Did I say
said,
that?
no,
Okay.
the children of the world appreciate that I'm not.
Yeah.
And you said, well, then how do we know each other? And it took me a second. And I said, I think you used to come on the radio and talk
That's
about,
it. Yep.
you know, fundraising and whatnot. And
Right.
then we put 2 and 2 together. And you asked, what are you doing dishes?
That's right. That wasn't a good thing. Not that there's anything wrong doing dishes. I've done dishes.
Was happy to help, however, wherever I was needed.
I know, but then we said, have I got a job for you?
Famous last words. So.
Yes, I've been told that a lot when I say that I've got a job for you, and then all of a sudden it becomes an issue. So I think it's been great. Nancy's here on Friday. If you ever want to see Nancy, if you remember her as a celebrity from, you know, WSAR.
We use that term loosely.
Well, hey, you know, whatever. Hey, people meet me on the street now and say, I know you, and I say, you don't look familiar. Yeah, and you're on TV, and I say, yeah, unfortunately that is true.
Yes.
No offense to the audience. I really enjoy doing this show, but it can be a little bit crazy. And so, and here we are. And I told Nancy, we're going to do the show. You're not going to, don't worry about it. It's just like talking to each other. And the last several months I've been watching Nancy, you know, let's just say she's, in comparison to everyone else, and no offense to the rest of my staff, she's a computer whiz. She loves the computer. She does a great job. And as a side gig, what do you do?
I actually do some side consulting for other folks who own practices to help them with efficiency and just you know, creating systems for their flow of their office. So I forced myself upon you.
No, not really.
And offered help.
Yeah, she did. And when she said she forced herself, she, you know, I think like all human beings, a lot of people are always set in our ways. You know, we've done it this way, we're not going to change it, and it's a very difficult thing to accept. We're going to just do it this way. And Nancy, we have a program called Shelter Manager, which we only had for a few years. And when poor Ariana came on board, she hadn't known Shelter Manager, where she worked before, didn't use it. She became self-taught, and she's only been here like 1.5 years, so it's been difficult. She just barely learned what was going on to get moving on and keep the shelter going. So Nancy decided, which no one ever thought of doing, myself included, why don't I take a look at it and decide what other features we could have. And lo and behold, she found them all. And then some. So I started, you know, thinking about this, and she's like, well, I'm not going to force myself. I'll take my time, you know, but I'd like to do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, seriously? Okay. And understanding, and I don't think that you knew this, I don't really do the shelter manager end of it, so I had no idea what she was talking about, and I would be like, oh, okay, I get it. I say to Bev, the treasurer and my cohort, I say, okay, Bev, what is she talking about? And she'd tell me what she was talking about. I say, okay, that makes sense. So lo and behold, we now have Nancy doing, tutorials?
I do tutorial videos, as some of the staff and helpers are just not as tech savvy. We have people at all different levels, so I try to teach people where they're at, not where I want them to be. And so I send them instructions in writing as well as tutorial videos so that everyone can learn at their own capacity and figure it out.
And I'll tell you, it's amazing. Some of the changes that she's already done, has implemented, have been wonderful, and we're really appreciative of them. And then as we're talking, a couple of the board members that also work with Nancy in the clerk capacity kept on saying to me, well, Gail, you know, Nancy'd be great on the board. I said, yeah, I know she would be, but I at the time didn't have another spot, but we did have a spot available, and I kept on listening to Nancy talk and tell me different things, and I was like, okay. And then she said, well, she had some family issues at home, which, you know, her parents are older, and so she was dealing with some things. And I said, I can't ask her now. I just can't do this. So ironically, recently, I met with Nancy, and I said, Nancy, I heard that you do this work where you can tell people how to work things out, but understand we're very slow here. I hire people to actually, you know, pick up poop. It's not like they're here to work on a computer. Some of them don't even know how to touch a computer, and we're going to have to go very slow. And she was, you know, she was okay. But she came into the meeting, she brought her laptop with her, and I was like, oh boy, she's really going to be on top of things, not knowing what I was going to be talking to her about. So then I kind of played her a little bit. I did play you a little bit. I said, so
I know.
I said, you know, I know that you might want to go home and talk to your husband. And, you know, I know Cooper's in high school now, and so you've got things going on, so you may not have the time, but I have a couple of questions. And I went on, and I eased in with the, you know, helping out here, which she was already doing anyway. And then I said, well, what about board of directors? I know you got to go talk to your husband about it. And she's like, okay. She didn't say anything at that point. She let me play the game a little bit, and as we're getting ready to close up our meeting, she said to me, okay, I'll do both. I'll do it. And I said, okay, exactly what does that mean? What are you making a commitment for? And you said, I would gratefully be on the board of directors, and I was, yes, got another sucker. I mean, got a really good person to work with.
She was trying to sell to a salesperson.
Yeah,
it was kind of funny. But.
Yeah, it was. I knew I was kind of manipulating you, but I knew you knew I was. But I figured, you know, I had to try, right? I had to do the best I could. But we're very, very glad that you're on board.
Thank you.
You know, we're sure.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I have mentioned before, I'm retired. You have a full-time job. Obviously, you're a very busy woman, but. After doing this for, you know, 25th anniversary, doing this for 24 years, there are certain things that I'd like to change and you know, move on a little bit in my life. And I really think that with Ariana at the helm, I knew that was going to change. But now we're doing implementing all these things. Then COVID hit us, and that was a whole new ball game, and we had no idea what we were doing. So okay, so. We try again, we keep moving in what direction we're moving in. We're really not sure, but we keep trying that things are going to change. And then I said, you know, I really, you know, like she looks like me a little bit, so maybe she could sort of take over sometime in the near distant future. When
no one will know.
No one will know. They'll just think it's me, and they'll just say, okay. So. This is when we go to the accountant we go to the financial planner, and he'll say to Bev and I, so do you have an exit plan? And I say, well, yeah. And I did do a couple of things recently since Ariana's been here. I have a booklet all set up with dates and times and things that Bev does, things that I do, and started thinking my exit plan. So next time I meet with Joe, we go to Joe Marshall, I'll just say, I've got an exit plan. I've got my clone coming in about 10 years, 20 years, you know, and she could take over. I want to explain to the audience, because I explained to you as well, it's not that I want this power of being the president. What happened when they first started this whole board of directors and their bylaws, they put it in so that when you're an officer, there's no term limit. So even, you know, you could just keep going on and going on. And so every time in March when we have an annual meeting, we decide we're going to try to change and offices. And no one, Bev always puts that proposal in, and no one ever follows through on it. So what happens is, the only thing that would happen is if Bev and I decide, or I decide, I'm not doing this anymore, I just want to be on the board, then they'd have to find a new president. So again, I've put so much time and effort into this, I don't want to lose it. I think it's a great organization. With your help, with the social media that's going on, we've really have grown so much that it's incredible as to what's happening.
Yeah.
It's really, really incredible what's going on. So I really appreciate that. And what do you think about what you've been doing here and how things are going?
I think that, I love the fact that everyone's willing to learn and willing to change, and I think we're making changes in the right direction. I think if COVID taught us one thing, is that we have to be ready to pivot at a moment's notice. We have to be willing to become remote in what we do, no matter what we do,
right,
and be able to work from somewhere other than our primary location. And I think by utilizing the computer in the way and capacity that we can with Shelter Manager, it'll allow us to do that in the future. And so I think if we can start doing that now and chipping away at it, when that time comes that you say, I'm ready to step down, it'll make that presidency less scary, for whoever's going to jump in, because you all do so much, more than you even probably should.
Right.
that job seems so scary and overwhelming to anybody. So that's why people go, no, you're good. We don't want you to step down.
Right. Exactly.
So I think if we can make it less frightening to others, you may get that opportunity someday.
Well, I hope so. That would be wonderful. I think that I personally, I'm not ready. I thought I was ready. But when I see where Ariana's brought us and where you have started to bring us, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the new area that we're moving into. This being our 25th anniversary, I have a new person that's going to do our booklet for our event, and she said, how about if I change a little bit of your logo? And that's one of the things that we use for our logo, but we have another one that we also use, and I also so I said, okay, but I talked to a couple of my offices, and one was adamant. No, we're not changing. I said, well, I'm going to change it. So we might have a different logo for our event, but that necessarily doesn't mean that that's going to be our permanent logo. It's going to be a logo that is going to be utilized in the future and for this particular event. And she's going to be doing our poster for us. I just found that out today. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to work out really, really well for us.
And I think anytime there's new change in an organization, it's scary at first, but that's also adds the excitement. And I know in my own practice, it gets me jazzed again about going to work and jazzed about being involved again, because sometimes it gets stagnant and it gets boring and it gets to be a drag. And anytime you can infuse a little more excitement back into it, you get re-energized. I
think what you just said is exactly how I'm feeling, because I thought it was because it was the 25th anniversary, but I also thought it was because that you came on board in the Shelter Manager stuff, and I was like really excited about it. Really, really excited about it. And I do feel good about it. I think we're coming, initially we weren't doing anything with social media. Now we have almost 19,000 followers, excuse me,
I was gonna say 19.
On Facebook. Yeah,
good job.
Good job. On Facebook, and Instagram is going really well, and we're doing things, we had a story reading, Joyce Pincinel, one of our board members, a librarian, she did a story time for kids, and we kind of got on the board a little bit too late on that, because COVID was just starting to come out, people were starting to go out, but people really enjoyed it. The comments on there were really fantastic, and I said, okay, this works for us, And
you do a great job engaging the community, and that's what this is all about. So I think if you can come up with those unique ideas and continue to be refreshing in them all the time, that's what's going to keep it new again. Right,
and I think that's really, really important. I think we're really looking into having some, I think, areas that people, they don't realize how difficult it is from animals. People, when we started in this business, Bev and I, years ago, people, we went to the banks and they say, go after the big money. We tried to go after the big money banks. There's only a small piece of that pie, and there's a local business that was already established here, so we didn't get that piece of the pie. It was very difficult for us. But now I just received a check, and I always say it was $300 from a business in California. I have no ideas as to why. I know what happened. I don't know, where they found out about us, but it was okay. you know, and that went really well, you know. So I think we're getting to have a little bit more people helping us out and doing things, and that's really been very helpful to us. So Nancy, before you joined us and Ariana, we weren't really doing a lot with social media. And just a quick understanding why, because what would happen is if we had a dog put on social media, and someone says, that's my dog, and they have no proof it's their dog, they want the dog. And there was a couple of problems with that, and it turned into, it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be, but sometimes you have people that are going through a divorce, and you know, my husband threw the dog out, I know that's my dog, but yeah, he took all the paperwork, and it's heartbreaking, because obviously we're here because we love animals.
Right.
We don't want to give the animal to the wrong person, but it became a real issue, so it was very difficult. When Ariana said, well, we really need to build our social media, I started having cold sweats and saying, oh no, here we go again. But it didn't turn out to be that bad. And you use a lot of social media.
We do.
Do you think it's been helping us?
Yes, tremendously. Because what happens is once you post something, you get a tremendous amount of shares. And those shares are far-reaching. And what that does is it takes you out of Fall River and out of this 25-mile radius and exposes you to a whole slew of folks who now can support your organization, which is wonderful. I mean, that's what you need.
Yeah, I mean, we just recently received a check, and when there are larger donors, they give it to me. And it was you know, to me it was a large donation. It was a $300 donation, and it was wonderful. And it was like a company from California. There was nothing with it. It was just a business check, and you know, here's a donation for Forever Paws, and I was like blown away. So what I do now is I try to send personal thank yous. You know, I'll send a letter from, as you know, I'm the president, so I'll send personal letters from the president and thanking the people, and you know, and I get inquisitive. I say, how did you hear about us or something? And sometimes I get responses back. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I really do. And like I said, initially I was really nervous. As you know, as you're saying, you get standoffish, and it's like, do I really want to do this? But you do it, and you learn from experience.
Correct. I mean, even social media, for utilizing it they do those birthday fundraisers.
Right.
You know, I posted it thinking, well, if we get $50 for the organization, great.
Sure.
We almost got $1,500. So I mean,
Wow.
those are the little things you never know. Like, I was amazed how many of my friends shared it and the story I put with it, and it just grew. And so those things are far-reaching, and you know, you'll get donations that you never dreamed of, which is, you know, makes all the difference in the world here.
It does, and now we have, you're going to be able to help me with this. We have Venmo, we have PayPal, we have Netwood for Good. That's one I always forget. And we have quite a few of those. And now what's happening, which I'm really grateful for, is the treasurer gets she gets the information. She gets a printout now of who they are. Either we get an email or their current address, and that entails me to allow me to go on and send a thank you again through the email. And we get a lot of in-memories, because a lot of people do that. If someone passes in their family, they say they loved animals, we're going to donate to Forever Paws. And that's been helpful, because people, you know, they turn around, they send the money. Well, we want to let the family know how many people donated. Sometimes they say anonymous, and so we just let the family know there was a few anonymouses, but most of the time they'll either give their email. I'll get back to them and say, could you give me your mailing address so the family can thank you, because we'll send a letter out to the family letting them know, and that's helpful.
Right.
On that note, I just want to put a plea out too. If you have a family member that does pass away, it would be helpful if you contacted the shelter and let us know where you would like the information sent to, because the funeral homes are not allowed to give us that information. So it's a very difficult job to track down who it's supposed to be. And sometimes, again, I hate to say this, but if there's a divorce and a second family, we might be sending it to the wrong person. And you know, I've gotten to know the funeral directors quite well, I might say. I might add that I've learned a lot about funeral director, you know, and what happens and what's allowed and so on. But and I do have some that are very helpful, and they do ask the family when the family's there, you know, is it okay if we share this information with Forever Paws, and they allow it. So that's helpful too. So if you have a situation like that, take that into consideration. These are all new things that I'm learning about. You know, it's like kind of interesting. Sometimes you don't want to know about certain things.
Live and learn.
Right, live and learn, exactly. So what do you see, you know, you asked me And you asked me when we were talking about this organization, and you said, well, what's your 5-year plan? Like, what do you, and I was like taken back because no one's ever asked me that. So let me ask you, now that you're on the board of directors, give me like a 2-year plan as to where you see yourself fitting in.
Where I see myself in 2 years?
Yeah.
I'm afraid to answer that. You know, just helping wherever I can. I'd like to see, obviously, us further down the automation train with getting everything on the computer so that everybody has access at the click of the keyboard, so we're not having to chase paper, and so that anybody at any given moment would have the information at their fingertips. You know, having the website flourish, having the website be top-notch so that applications are easily filled out and submitted that way. An online store, information updated often, daily, you know, adoptions posted on the website, animals up, you know, daily videos posted with the animals, so that all of that stuff is always up and fresh in keeping us high in the SEOs and whatnot for the search engine optimization.
I was just going to say, okay, thank you.
For keeping that fresh, because that's the way the world is moving. And just to put it in perspective, 20 years ago when I started my practice, if you had asked me if I would have had a yellow pages and newspaper ad, now I would have said absolutely. But I don't have any of that. Everything is online. All of our advertising, all of our marketing, everything. So that's the way the world's going. So that's what I would love to see in 2 years, is all of that be now established so we can just run with it.
So let's put a plea out there also, because Nancy came on and said, you know, you have a great website, but we should do this, and, you know, add the store and online store and all that. And initially we didn't have, I told you, just about a year ago when Ariana came on, we're licensed to sell for the state of Massachusetts, but we decided to do that because, you know, we'd asked for a donation for a shirt or, you know, whatever. So now we are going to put a plug in. We are going to have our second cookbook since we've been here. We're going to have a cookbook coming out in September, probably for our fundraiser celebration of giving. And we're going to have that. And we have the candles, the soy candles that we make, you know, they're going to be seasonal, different seasons, different scents. So that's going to be good. So yeah, and our shirt. So that's a great idea, you know, when you talked about it. But also we're looking for someone that does websites. You know, not that we're cheap. You know, we'd like to pay someone, you know, to help us do something. And I was talking to a relative of mine. He works for a company now in Germany, but works obviously from home in Somerville, and he in turn says, yeah, you've got to get out there and market. And he was telling me different ways of doing things, but you need to have, you know, you got to pay something. And I've learned that you spend some money to make money, and we're always afraid here at Forever Paws because there were years where we were just about making payroll, you know, but I think we're you know, people are knowing us and getting, like you say, we're reaching a larger scope of people, and they're seeing the good that we're doing.
Correct.
You know, I would love, not that I want to replace you, but I would love to be able to have a full-time clerk person that that answers the phone, because when people know, you know, they'll call, like on Monday, they say, can I speak to Nancy? And Bev will say, well, Nancy only works on Fridays. Well, I spoke to her, and then they got to explain the whole story over again. And it's frustrating to the customer, you know, but it's also frustrating to Bev because she's trying to figure out, okay, well, what did Nancy tell them, you know? But that makes it hard.
Right. And I agree. I think, you know, when that time comes that you can hire somebody, that would be the person to hire, because that person controls the flow of the entire organization in any office.
Right.
Whether it's your dental office, you know, my office, anybody's office. So that would be ideal.
Yeah, and
I don't mind losing that job.
You don't? You sure?
I love being here, and I will find another thing to do on Friday. But yeah, I agree.
You know, and I wish we could, you know, because you're right. What you just said, that's the key pin, you know, that really runs the whole place, and we do it fragmentedly, and that's unfortunate. But we've made it work.
Yep,
you know,
you've done a great job with it.
We've made it work, as hard as it may be. We've made it work, and I'm very grateful to my board of directors, my fellow board of directors. They really have, you know, joined me and said, okay, you know, some of them have retired along the way, and I'll come in and I'll try to help, and it helps. It does help. But then again, you really need to know. When on Mondays, I feel like the dummy, because when Bev's on the phone and I've got to pick it up and they're saying, can you do this? Now I know how to get into shelter manager. I can answer some questions. I'm beginning to learn as her backup, but there are times when there's certain things that I'm not aware of, and then they'll say, you know, and I feel dumb because people know that I'm the person that's supposedly in charge, and yet I don't know what's happening.
That's when you just say, I have people for that.
Well, yeah, there's an answer. I have people for that.
That's the key phrase. I have people for
Yeah,
that.
I have people who tell me to do that. I like that. I really, really like that. That's important to me, you know, because some days I do feel bad. I do feel bad. But, you know, I'm really, and I know this is going to sound a little bit corny, but I am very super excited about you being on board. And because I think that you are bringing to us so many talents with you that it's refreshing. And I am psyched about it, which you know, the last 2 years or so, prior to Ariana, when Ariana joined us, I was psyched with her joining us also. But I think we've come a long way, and I think we're continuing to do that. And it does my heart good because 24 years of doing this, you know, I've had family members that say to me, Gail, you know, when are you going to retire? And I'm like, I am retired. You know, I am retired.
Working harder than ever, retired.
Right, I'm working harder than ever. And you're right. I and Bev and I created a monster, so to speak. We took on the role, and Diane Cody will tell everybody when she goes out there and she does her outreach coordinator thing, she'll say to people, we don't have an executive director because the treasurer and the president divide everything, and it's true. And now we're doing, you know, transports and all that, and it's like, wow, some days, you know, we got a great little, we still do foster care. We have a puppy that we've had for a couple of weeks that we've brought back today. I mean, it's great. It's really a great program, you know. I mean, I can't say enough about the positives here. But the positive that you've joined us, and I've got to throw this in. Cooper, you told me about Cooper. You said to Cooper, okay, Cooper, here's your volunteer application. You got to fill this out. and please tell the audience what he did.
He said, look, why are you volunteering? I said, fill that out. He goes, well, I'm just going to put because you made me. And I said, whatever, just put down the truth. Whatever it takes to get you here.
Yeah, that was cute. I was like, oh, that was so funny. And then you just moved, like you said, and where's your address? He just put his name.
He didn't know where he lives.
He didn't know where he lives, and he's a freshman in high school, going to a sophomore now.
Well,
so, you know.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps, teenagers, but I love the, you know, the decorum that you have with him and all that stuff that's going on, and can't wait to meet Andy and see what's going on with him. But
Totally opposite of us.
Totally opposite of the two of you. I can understand that. Opposites attract. I get that. I want to, again, welcome aboard. It's going to be a roller coaster ride. It's going to be a fun roller coaster ride with us. We have a great time.
We'll hang on tight.
And we're going to hang on tight. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And you have a, you know, just keep on plugging with us. That's all I'm going to say.
Just hang on tight. We've got this.
We got it. Absolutely. Thank you, folks, for watching Straight from the Paws. Take care. Be safe.